Welcome to another episode of Sanity Killer Projects. Today we're going to be doing the front brakes on a 2014 Honda Accord Touring, which has a 3.5 liter V6 that's the exact same engine as the 2023 Honda Passport Trail Sport that we also have. The brakes that we're going to be doing today are a set of power stop front brakes and drilled and slotted rotors. So let's get started. The first thing that we're going to do is jack the car up and put it on jack stands. As you can see, I've got the jack stand sitting on a piece of the subframe in the front, up underneath the engine, and the wheels are clear of the ground. So now I'm going to remove that jack in the back and we'll take the tires off. Alright, so to get the tires off, you use a 3/4 inch wrench. I use an air impact, just made it easier. If you're going to be taking off just the brake pads and changing just those, it's a 14 millimeter on this slide pin bolt on the top. There's also one on the bottom. If you're going to be taking off the rotors also, there's no reason to take the slide pins off. It's just easier to pull this bolt right here on the top, and then there's another one down here on the bottom. It removes the whole caliper assembly and gets it out of your way. Once you have the caliper out of the way, you can access the rotor and change the brakes. Okay, so on the driver's side I already have this all pulled apart, but one of the things with these Hondas is you have to take this bolt off of this. It attaches this to a backing plate that holds the rotor in place, so we'll show you that on the other side. It is on the driver's side, and as you can see, there's a little hole here and there's a little hole here. Some of these are threaded on both sides, some of them are only on one. As you can see on this rotor, there's only one indentation and one screw, so there's no place for a secondary one to go. But this is how you get it off. You just take those two bolts and then move your caliper up out of the way, and then sometimes these will stick. You can hit them with the hammer or rubber mallet, get it to break loose from this plate, but make sure you take this Phillips head screw off first. So the kit that we're going to be replacing everything with is the power stop kit. This kit is a rotors and brakes all in one. If you look up that kit, it's K6515. That's the whole kit. If you look up just the rotors, they are JBR1571 XL and XR. That's for left and right. And then if you're gonna replace just the brake pads, the brake pad number is Z23 1654. 1654 is the number you need. Z23 is the style of brakes, and they make a couple of different ones, the Z23, the Z26, and the 36 more for heavy duty stuff. So now that we have the rotor back on, we have that secondary screw in that just holds it in place. Back in, the next thing that we're going to do is work on changing the brake pads. To get the brake pads out, you push this side in and you pop this side of the back of the caliper, and just get the brakes to come loose out through the opening. There's also some squealer tabs up in the top that clip up along the back, and then there is a squealer tab down in the bottom. The kit that we have also comes with slide pin boots and a couple other little things, caps for your brake bleeder. We're not going to replace any of that stuff because it's not necessarily needed in this case. In fact, the brakes that came off of this were in pretty good shape. We're mostly just doing this for an upgrade. So next thing we have to do is we have to push this caliper back. Before we push the caliper back, what you have to do is take the cap off of the brake reservoir. The reason why is because when you compress that caliper back, you need some place for the fluid to go, and if you have the cap on it, you're going to overpressurize the system. So you have to take the cap off and let the fluid fill back up into the reservoir. Okay, so this actually works out. I have an extra set of hands at the moment that's holding the caliper for me in place. As you can see, we've compressed the caliper. We put the brake pads back into their positions. The side with the squealer tab goes towards the caliper side, facing into the main body where the rotor goes. So then one of the things I want to show you too is we have this nifty little tool that makes it to where you can compress the calipers. The one problem with this tool is you have to actually take the calipers out of their frame. If you have them inside of their frame like this, there's no way to get this piece into there with that plate in place. So we ended up having to do this with just a regular C-clamp, like old school mechanic style. But this tool is nifty. If you're gonna just replace the brakes, this little tool compresses your caliper back for you. The kit also came with these little hooks that hold the caliper up out of the way so that it's not stretching out the the brake line in the back of it while you're doing the work. Okay, so once you get the two 17 millimeter bolts on the back of the caliper mounted back in, the next thing you do is install the tire. Now that we have the tires back on, I want to show you what happened with the reservoir. When you compress the calipers, the fluid fills back up into the reservoir. As you can see, the fluid is all the way to the top now. So that is the reason why we took the top off of it. You want it to be able to spill out if it's too full, and then once you push the brakes on the inside of the car and refill the calipers back up, you want to be able to refill it with fluid if need be. All that fluid in the system has been pushed back and needs to get back out to the calipers. All you have to do is pump the brake pedal to get the fluid to pump back into it. Once the pedal gets hard, it should be good. But the next thing you should do is start up the car and drive it a little bit, and then give it a little bit of brakes and make sure the car stops, and then go into a different gear and go forward and make sure it brakes so that it stops. Make sure that it stops a few times before you decide that you're done. If you lose pedal pressure, then you need to bleed the brakes out because you've gotten air inside your lines. If it doesn't gain brake pressure altogether, you have something wrong. So make sure you go through the steps to test and check before you end up trying to seat your rotors and your brakes together. PowerStop gives instructions on how to seat the rotors. You don't want to jump into doing that until you've actually verified that the brakes are functioning. So that's going to do it for this episode of changing the brakes on the 2014 Honda Accord 3.5 liter. If you're able to learn something or we were able to help you out in some sort of way, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. As always, thank you for watching.